Welcome back to another Man Card Monday with Michelle. Thanks so much for joining me today. We have this fun monochromatic card for a guy in our life, and it looks like it's a wood floor, and I really like how it turned out. So let's get started, shall we? First up, I will let you know we are using the Pack Your Bags stamp from the You Are Here Cricut bundle. Some charcoal and archival black inks, as well as some black and white dots and some Whisper thick twine. The paper comes from the Into the Wild paper pack, and our cardstock color is charcoal today. So let's get started. So first up, we have a lot of these little pieces. So these start off as 4.5 by 1/2 inch pieces. You'll need about 12 of them. These ones I have already inked with charcoal ink. So let's finish these other two. And it's super simple to do. Doesn't take a lot of time, but I figured I would save you guys a little bit of time by having it done beforehand. Okay, those pieces are ready. The other pieces that you will need are your card base and envelope. I did trim my card base down to 4 inches by 5.5 inches. You will need 2 pieces of charcoal cardstock that are 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. You will need 1 piece of white daisy that is 3.5 by 5. You will need a piece of printer paper or white daisy cardstock, either way, also 3.5 by 5. I have a piece of that same B&T paper that is 2 1/8 inches by 6 inches. I have a tag that was on the cut apart page and a piece of scrap white daisy cardstock that is 3 3/8 by 1.5. And that's just going to give that a little bit of stability. All right, let's get started. So we are going to take our printer paper and our tape runner, and we are going to cover it pretty completely. And we are doing this all the way to the edges so that doing it all the way to the edges so that we don't have to worry about any gaps in our planks, because we don't want those coming up. Just like in your house, you don't want those coming up. All right. Now we are just going to lay them out. So the paper that I grabbed them from actually has 4 different colors of wood on it. And here you can see them kind of all represented. So you have essentially your almost white, there's just a tiny bit of grain showing, a little bit darker, and more dark. And I do have a few pieces over here as well. These are leftover pieces from this card, and then I do have a whole nother stack of them as well that I can mix in. Okay, so let's do this. It's kind of fun. You get to play jigsaw essentially with all straight pieces. And then I think I'll do this piece, and we're just going to line it up all the way to the edge. That helps us make sure that the planks stay straight on our paper. And this one we're going to bring all the way down to the end. Now on my original card, I did not ink the edges, and I wanted to give it a little bit more depth, and so you guys get to see it with inked edges. And sometimes it's easier to turn it sideways. It's really personal preference here. And you can turn it around and around and around just like a merry-go-round. You do want to make sure that you get your pieces lined up and flushed up against the pieces next to it. And the great thing about this is you can do a whole slew of these. Super simple. Takes next to no time at all. And just lay them down. And we'll end up cutting off the pieces later, which is how we have the tiny pieces. And that just makes it look a little bit more like flooring. Like I said, super simple. It's even simpler if you have just one color of wood, because then there's no question. It just all goes down and you don't have to worry about which color comes next. All right, let's see, bring in one little piece here. Let's do this one. Perfect. So I am going to take my bone folder, and I'm going to do it on the back side so I don't catch anything. And just give it a press so we can make sure all of our pieces are attached firmly. And take our scissors from the back side and just cut right along that printer paper. You want to make sure that you're getting close to that paper so you don't have any overhang. And then you can see here on this right side that I have a little bit of overhang, so I can cut that off or I can leave it. I think I'm just going to leave it this time, just because it's super close and it'll be harder to get a straight edge cutting than it would be just to leave it. So now we have those pieces that we cut off that don't have any edging on them or inking on the edges, and so we're just going to super quick go around, and we don't need to do the long edges because those all had inking and we didn't cut off that one side. So that part is done. I really like how that makes it stand out a little bit better than it does on the first one. So, move our scraps aside. We are done with those. Now it is time to do a little bit of stamping. So we are going to bring our tag in and our foam piece. And I have these two sentiments already blocked up. So one says, enjoy the journey, and one says, there's still so much to see. So we're going to do some masking to get the sentiment that we have. So first up, we're going to use some washi tape because it's easy and it's sticky and we don't have to worry about it. And we are going to cut a straight line here. And we're going to block off 2C. Okay, so now it just says there's still so much. Bring in our black ink pad. Ink that up. Take off the washi tape. Very important step. And then stamp our image. All right, we are going to use the other image and we're going to mask off everything except for the word enjoy. And you could use a smaller piece and make sure to not ink too far. I like to make sure that everything is covered. We have good coverage there. Remove your mask. And stamp. Okay, we are going to bring in a piece of scrap printer paper and we're just going to tap the whole thing down and tap it on here. And then what we are going to do is we are going to trim out the space around the word to. Because that is all that we want to stamp on this go round. And it's easier to do this than it is to do all sorts of masking. And then we are just going to line up the S and C approximately in the middle of the E for enjoy. And we're going to ink up again, and we don't need to ink up the whole stamp, just the word to. And then we're just going to kind of line up the word C. And voila. And now we have our stamp. So let's let this dry for just a few moments. And then while that's doing that, we will do our envelope. So we are going to put glue on our envelope flap, on the outside of the flap, and we want good coverage. And we are going to line up at that fold line all the way up to it and then push down. We're going to use our bone folder to spread out that glue and give us nice even coverage. And then we are going to trim this. And yes, my envelope has a number on it because I used it for something else first. Apparently cutting and talking is not my forte. All right. Now we need to bring in our sponge and our ink again so that we can do the edge that we just cut. Now you can see that I did that one edge already. But this just super simple, takes almost no time at all, and plays into that grungy look. All right, so our envelope is done. Let's do a little bit of gluing. Okay, so we need a few of those scrap pieces to put at the bottom of our card here. See those white pieces are so white that I think that they have them on the wrong side. All right. A little bit of tape runner. Because we are doing just the one row, I am going to use tape runner because that will make it super simple. Now I am putting that cut edge to the outside so that we can ink that. All right, trim this off. Now the outside of our card matches the inside, or I guess that would be vice versa, wouldn't it? And just ink those two bits right there. And then let's do a little bit of inking on our charcoal pieces as well. Super simple, easy to do, and it just makes everything pop. And it doesn't take a whole lot of ink. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. I think I'll leave the white white. Okay, so attach these together, centering them. Just give it a little burnish. I know that it's not a liquid glue, but it will still help it stay together. Okay, give a good amount of glue on here. Center this on here. Again, turn it over, give it a good press. And then add these panels to our card. All right, so we'll do the inside panel first. All right, so before we add our outside panel, we have to do a few things. So let's set this aside. We need to trim our scrap so that it actually fits. And we're gonna over trim it a smidge, just so that we know for sure. And glue this on here. Grab our hole punch. And just punch out the center of our little tag there. All right, some twine. So we are going to wrap our twine around our base 3 times. We're going to make that 4 times. I would rather have it be a little bit too long than too short. All right, 2 little tricks. So one, as you can see, our twine is a little bit kinked here. So we are going to grab a hold of it and then just put pressure, and that removes the majority of those kinks. All right, so we are going to put it in half, and we're going to tie a knot, and then we're going to tie a knot again. Okay, and then we are going to thread this through our hole, and that way our knot is large enough it's not going to come through that hole. So here's where the kind of futzy part is. So first you need to decide which side you want up and down. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. We are going to put this at an angle. So our twine is going to start and stop here, but let's make sure. Always make sure. Okay. So you have 2 options. You can cut your twine a little bit longer to begin with, or you can do what we're going to do here. And we're going to flip this up, and we are going to just put a line of tape right there. And we are going to tape our end in. And we want to make sure that this is going to line up how we want it to. Flip this up again, stick that down in the glue, and then we have that stuck down. All right, so not quite done yet. We need to put some foam tape on here. And I do tend to go a little bit overboard with my foam tape. I always just want to make sure that my stuff is going to be good. It's not going to cave in before the recipient gets it, or after for that matter. Take off the backings. Okay. Now, even more foam tape on the back side. And again, extra foam tape just because I am a worrywart. Okay. The great thing is though, is you don't have to tear off the backings for the pieces that are in the middle. You only really need to do the ones on the edge. So that will save you a little bit of hassle. A little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit. Card base. And then we just center this on the front. All right, one more twine. We're going to cut this, and then we are going to fray it. So you're just going to kind of futz with it and make it a little bit messy. So you can trim it so it's a little bit shorter if you'd like, or not, up to you. And then we are going to use some black dots, because even though this is a guide card, doesn't mean it has to go unembellished, right? So there we have it. 2 cards for the guys in our lives. Tell me what you think. Would you take the extra time to do the inking like we did on this one, or just go without the inking like we did on this one? Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for joining me today. I would love it if you clicked that subscribe button at the bottom. And if you want to be notified when I upload more videos, click the bell too, and it will email you and let you know when there are new videos for you to watch. Thanks for joining me. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.